Aboard the mighty airship Windswift, 4 valiant captains of the Order of Astari are tasked with hunting down the madmen who would bring back the Dragon Overlords. These are the adventures of the Windswift. Hello and welcome to episode 3 of Bacon Battalion and the adventures of the Windswift. Now, as we do with every episode thus far and moving forward as well, we roll the dice of destiny to determine who will tell us what happened in the last episode, and that is number 3, Freddy.
You can run, but you can't hide.
Yes.
Oh, so tired. Okay. The last time that we all banded together, we were on, not exactly a mission, but we were there for practice of our own abilities and combat in our ship against a much larger ship, called the Kennedy.
The Kadandachi.
That's the one. And we traded some decent blows, and I actually got a really good shot in. It was a good enough shot to blow the whole thing up, even though we only had... we were basically playing paintball. We found out that there were these strange, mystical, pale-skinned and with blue tattooed people that would kamikaze themselves into our engine. At least they attempted to before Mutaru and I and Blackstone and Khan, we tossed them overboard. We couldn't make any other different decisions. We would have lost our ship. And so after that we tried to look for survivors from the other ship in that ghastly glass desert, and we found a boy in the pit of glass who was poisoned by mercury, but luckily Blackstone was able to save him, and found this strange artifact. An artifact that was made out of, weird flesh bag. And there's just something strange about it. Blackstone was looking at it, but I couldn't see much. And I believe that's where we were.
Absolutely, that's exactly where we are, with the ship sailing a few hundred yards above the glass desert of the Sajet Empire, and we now turn to the 4 of you. What are you now doing? The boy is resting comfortably in the infirmary.
Trying to wake up. That's what I'm trying to do.
I believe we are meeting one another to discuss the very serious matter of the contents of the leather bag. That being, of course, the dates and times that suggest possible attacks on order vessels like our own. We gather up, obviously, away from the main crew in order to discuss. Mutaru obviously starts by asking, Blackstone, could you read out the details on the note again?
Kadandachi, 23rd of the 53rd year. Windswift, 23rd, 53rd year.
Dang.
It's today.
We narrowly missed that one.
Yes.
Also, there are these 2 sets of coordinates or something. I'm not a cartographer, but I think that's probably where we are.
I can compare them to the charts later if you like, but I would wager you're probably correct.
There are 3 more ships here on this note. The Sandori and the Possum Gambit. Weren't they Agreleka ships?
Yes, I believe you're correct.
I believe so, yes.
Their date was about a week ago.
A week ago?
Yes.
Well, do you think that the deacons and the orders are inclined to tell us if our ships have been going missing, or?
Well, we need to report.
We would be hasted to ask, but that is not all. It also says the Gorch Loch Halem in about a week, a few days, a week from now. At least the least thing we need to do is warn them.
I am in agreement, but as you recall, the last transmission we sent to the Deacon, our oracle Damaster is quite weary from the last experience.
I remember. That is why I think we should be hastened to go to the next city where we're going to anyways, and
Right.
try to communicate maybe from there.
Well,
There is one last thing on the scroll.
right.
It says Karaka Las Prax. I think I heard this name once.
Well, let me be quite frank. We could try our best to contact the Deacon, but I am still very disturbed by the fact that they could cut off our connection. The Oracle was completely cut off and could not reach the Deacon. So if that means, if they have the power to actually not only cut off connections, what if they have the power to tap into our connections? What if they can manipulate our calls?
How far away are we from the headquarters? The cathedral or whatever?
You wanted to head to Takatuman, which is
Right.
On the coast, quite some distance from you. But yes, no more than about 250 miles or so, give or take.
Oh, that's
That is like a day, right?
Depending on what sort of magic units you want to burn in your engine, yes, it will either take...
And that is a city, or is this the headquarters where we could speak to our deacon or whatever?
Takatuman has headquarters in it for the operations of the Histari Order here in the Sajet Empire. Itself is a massive city of Sajeti on the coast next to the Teshi Bay.
But it's not the main headquarters.
No, the Order doesn't have specifically a central headquarters as such.
But not where the Archon is?
The Archon generally moves around from point to point to point, just making sure it's also a safety precaution. But Takatuman is the largest city on the continent.
Legit.
Well, I think it's definitely prudent that we head in that direction.
Before we do, we wanted to get in another city before. How secretive are we, and how beholden to like security is this order? Because do we think it's unplausible that we could ever be listened into, like what Graham is saying, or is it more like we could speak in a sort of thieves' cant, kind of give a little bit of information in code?
The oracles are a direct link between each other, and so presumably that one would not be able to infiltrate that. Unless one knew very specifically where an oracle was and was reading their mind at the same time that they were busy communicating, then that's theoretically possible. But this is all meta-magic theory. None of it's been proven, and...
So something like some security measure like this is not in place?
No. At least not.
That's so easy to do and not done. All right. We smart. Got it.
It's been 500 years since the Order had any real threat in terms of hunting down dragons.
No, it's fine. It's just we have a satellite phone, but we have no code. It's okay. It's just funny to me.
Con, you've been a little quiet on the matter. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, the ability to interfere with a telepathic link does not necessarily follow that you have an ability to listen in on the link. The two are not necessarily hand in hand. Why they may be able simply to interfere with our connection, and it seems to have been localized to those saboteurs that came aboard the ship. As soon as we were rid of them, our link was restored.
There's also something else. We already lost the surprise because we already phoned in. If they can read the connection, as you say, Graham, they already know that we survived and perhaps gotten information.
We know that our last port of landfall was Daide, and that is the last known location where saboteurs could have gotten on board the ship, as far as we can ascertain, unless they have some magical aid.
I have a thought. What is the next date and location on the map?
It is, and I kind of read it to you. It was the anchor ship Grog Loch Halem.
And where is that in relation to our current location?
You cross-reference the coordinates as they are, as you guessed correctly, coordinates. They speak to a territory on the other side of the world. Literally, they are in operations near Kemnwer, which is an elvish city within the Empire of Athene-Rasul.
Out of
We've
reach from
already
us, right?
We've already informed command about this problem. They will deal with communicating with the ships on the list. I think what we need to do is try and trace back their saboteurs.
Did we communicate it? I don't think we actually did.
I think we said like there's something happening, but I don't think we actually shared the contents of the note, right?
Yeah, we didn't actually find the note until after we'd already communicated with the deacon, so they don't actually know about the list.
Right. So they specifically should warn this ship, right, and maybe kind of move somewhere else or something.
Well, exactly. That's exactly what I was thinking. I was thinking, at the very least, if it were within our ability to get to that location before the allocated time, it might be worth going there and being able to see one of these.
Wait, lay an ambush.
Yeah,
Lane?
exactly.
We can.
It's 5,000 miles, give or take.
We can't do
That's
5,000
okay, well-
miles in a week.
We can do 5,000 miles, and I'll tell you what, we'll do 500 more.
I understand. I understand everyone's concerned about this. Yeah, no. Good one.
It cannot be done.
Would you say we need to go west? Is it that?
No, to the east. No, but
No. So we can't get there, right? That's out of the.
Out of the question.
But I understand everyone's concerned about this. Why not let them at least do one or two of these attacks? Because as
We were already the second attack. There will be not more sacrifices.
You would have our people die?
What I'm saying simply is that Blackston is right about one thing. We have probably lost the element of surprise because we survived. But do they know that we found their list? I don't know about that.
Well, there was not much else on this list. It was just the Grog Loch Halem, and then it kind of mentions this dragon. I don't want to meet the dragon personally. We should try to sabotage their attempts to do whatever that they want to do.
It's just
All
whatever
right.
information we have, we can usually manipulate. But then again,
Well-
these are creatures beyond our magical comprehension.
Look, I am
There's
inclined.
far more unknown than known at this point. But we have.
Look, at the moment, I am inclined to agree with Graham. We definitely have at least some element of surprise that we have survived this. And yes, there may possibly be the ability for the enemy to be able to tap into our communications. Nonetheless, we cannot risk having one of our allies' ships fall in any way, shape, or form. The order is too important for such things to happen. We will not contact headquarters because the traffic through there may increase the risk of us being monitored. But we will get word to the and at least warn them.
Well,
Maybe if they are prepared, maybe they have the possibility to find more information than we did.
Yes. In the meantime, we still need to explore the possibility of how they got aboard our ship.
Yep.
And I think heading down to the city is probably the best bet for the time being, at least until we know more. As Connor says, without information, we can't really make any grand decisions apart from to float here and ponder this.
that's true.
Very well, I'll get us underway. To die day it is.
Excellent.
I do think we might need to physically actually try to find the decon, if it's possible.
Would we know where it is?
I have some reservations about not communicating the contents of this list with HQ.
Yeah, well,
If
well,
you
regardless-
were okay with it, I would speak to Demestra myself and ask her to come to connect us directly to the ship and warn them personally, and basically go direct route, not over the headquarters.
You can,
If
if
that's
that's what the
possible.
group consensus is, I will go with it. I'm personally against it because of the potential that they have. We don't know what their capabilities are, and I like to presume the worst to be prepared for the worst.
yes, and we love you all for it, Graham. We need people like that sometimes, because some of us are a bit bullheaded.
Sometimes a few of us just see red. Is that what you're saying?
Yes. All right.
Dream just walks out of the room.
Con, set course. Braxton, have a word with Demesta and Graham. Do what you can to prepare for the absolute worst that will occur, and see if you can talk to. Oh,
Yeah, like
Coming!
the ball thing maybe just no. I actually am.
Coming.
I'm gonna go wait by the boys' side.
All right, perfect. So I will handle Con first. You get up onto deck and you relieve Lieutenant Ty from her position at the helm, and she heads on down to go and grab a bite to eat. She reports no visual contact with anybody else out in the desert, which is to be expected. But given that she is a stickler for following process and procedure, she gives you a full report nonetheless before heading on downstairs.
And
Now,
listen patiently.
Yes. The sun is slowly starting to set in the distant horizon as you start to swing the nose of the Windswift around. What course and speed? What speed do you want, sir? Says Engineer Jockenstoke from the speaking horn.
Let's go as fast as we can, I think, without rattling the hinges just yet. Full power.
Aye, sir. There's a small bell that rings out across the ship. Ludicrous speed. All right.
Speed, go!
Punch it!
All right, so the ship starts to build up the speed towards its maximum speed of 55 miles per hour as it starts to move forward. The bells simply warn anyone that if you have drinks on tables to move them towards the center of the table, that sort of thing. Yeah. All right, so you engage, and the desert starts to slip beneath you, but it will take several hours. You'll only clear the Sajet Desert in about 4 hours or so, and then you'll start making your way back towards the Kingdom of Brunei. Mutaru, you went where? Sorry, I forgot.
I'm going.
Yeah?
Oh, sorry.
Okay.
Yes, I'm going to have a closer inspection of the boy. Basically, stay by his side so at least he has a friendly face to wake up to.
So that's where Graham is as well, so you walk in there to see Graham sitting next to him already.
Question: who gets there first?
You do.
You probably
you
do.
did say
Yeah,
that you went there
easy.
first, yeah. And I'll come to you.
Mother rice.
Yeah, so Graham, as you walk in, you can see that Hurricane is standing there, the male drow cook is standing next to the boy. He appears to have a bowl with some kind of broth that he's prepared and is looking to feed the child when he awakens. He looks over at you.
No. I'll take care of that. Actually, one of our captains, Mutaru, he actually wanted to talk to you for a second. Would you mind? I think he's gonna come in and also check on the boy as well. He wanted to ask you a couple of dinner menu items. You know how excited he gets.
Really? He gets excited about the dinners I cook?
Absolutely. You are an excellent chef.
Well, that is high praise indeed coming from one like yourself. I always endeavor to make sure that there is the best possible meals available. I mean, what one can do in a galley on a ship like this, of course, is limited. Not to say that I'm complaining, but of course, it is still a galley.
I need to talk with the boy. Go
Yes, I understand. Just watch out. The broth is fairly warm, but
Absolutely.
yes. All right.
Close the-
Thank you very much, he says as he starts walking off. The boy is pale.
Pale. Asleep or completely unconscious?
Seems to be sleeping.
Checking his pockets.
All right. You go through his pockets. He doesn't disturb, doesn't wake up. There is nothing of significance apart from around his wrist. There is a rather tatty-looking leather thong that's been tied around a few times, and tied into that are a few small beads. Each of the beads has a different color. There's red, there's blue, there's green. They don't seem to have any immediate value. Yeah, something similar to that. And that's it. Otherwise, the pockets seem to be quite empty.
Okay. I'm going to quietly and as gently as I can try to find any tattoos, scars, anything that I can without completely exposing the boy's body and looking strange. But before I do that, I'm going to lock the door.
All right. I'll come back to you. Mutaru, you are walking towards the infirmary when the drow chef comes walking with a large amount of confidence directly towards you. I am so pleased that you are so very happy with the foods. Now, what is it that you wanted to talk about, sir?
Oh yes, I'm very pleased with the food. What did I want to talk about? I knew it. Clearly, I did.
Master,
don't you worry. I wouldn't have brought you to my attention without knowing exactly what it is I wanted to talk to you about. And it is this: have you thought of the following chung delicacies? I think the group would really love it. Let me tell you a little bit about how to prepare urchin. And I will continue on this train of thought for at least 5 minutes.
Oh, yes.
Once you finish after 5 minutes, he just raises 1 point. Just to clarify, when you say urchin, you are talking about the sea creature and not the waif that lives in the city as a child, yes?
Oh, yes, of course. Little kind of little sea creature.
This now makes...
Yes, and don't worry. Even though a lot of the food is raw, it still takes a very skilled chef to prepare it just right. But you know what? You have really shown me that you know your way around a kitchen, and I am confident that you have just the skills needed to prepare such intricate delicacies.
Then I shall
do me proud.
Make it a objective, perhaps. What about if every week I was to serve a dish from each of the crew members' homes, and so we understand each other's culture better?
That would be a fantastic idea. See, this is exactly the kind of go-getting that I come to expect from the crew of the Windswift. You, sir, are exemplary.
Marry him, I will kill you.
All right, so while that backslapping conversation is continuing, Blackston, you arrive at Domesta's quarters.
Last time I asked said chef if he can prepare something so I could speak with her.
Yes.
And kind of informed him that she feels weak. And
Correct.
is that... Could I get this before I get to her?
Yes,
perhaps?
of course, absolutely. So there is a large pot of broth that has been created within the galley. The chef is not there. It's unusual. You have no idea where he is. Usually he's here, but he seems otherwise elsewhere. There is a broth, however. It seems to be fairly new, and there is freshly baked bread, which has the wonderful aroma that we also love. So you...
And I'll take like a hair or something for her to feast upon.
Yes, that would be useful considering of her origin. All right, so yes, you go through to her quarters. You may enter.
Kind of open up.
Sure.
Demestra.
She is sitting on her bed. She has one. It was a standard issue, yes, but it looks as if she is wrapped up in these heavy blankets and furs and things, and she's sitting there. She looks bluer than usual.
Are you okay? You look like you're blue.
Yes, I have never experienced this before, but I am cold.
Well, I hope you get better soon.
Not the virus. That would be impossible. It is. There is someone who is broadcasting on their oracle channels that they are very cold, and it is coming through. I am having difficulty blocking it.
You know who it is?
Merely an impression that it is the oracle from the Sandorai. Her name is Asalan. She seems to be very cold, but is not responding to any of our requests for a link.
Well, I hope maybe this can help you, and I kind of give her the rabbit.
She tears into it with quite a lot of enthusiasm and starts to suck down on it as her vampiric soul kicks in.
And I kind of sit down on the table next to the nearest table, I guess,
Sure.
and kind of eat a little bit bread and from the broth, kind of dunking the bread in the broth and kind of eating it, waiting for her to kind of finish.
She looks up with blood-stained fangs and still a little bit cold. Much better. Now, what is it that you wish to speak to me, Sir Blackstone?
I have two questions. One question and one job for you when you feel like it, like being able to do it again. So first one is, you said the oracle that you get this feeling from is from the Sandori?
Yes, very much so.
That is an Arc Relica ship, is it not?
Correct. This is why it is so strange. Usually we avoid listening in on each other's conversations, but it seems as if she's just telling everybody anyway who can hear her that she's cold.
Well, it would be very good if you could somehow connect to her and speak to her, because we have good reason to believe is that the Sandorai and the Possum Gambit both are destroyed and the sailors are dead, perhaps. Well, we don't know, but we found a letter which, well, and I kind of explained the letter to her, right?
Sure. All right. Well, if it'll make the cold stop, then I am all for it. She reaches out her hand towards you.
Give me, before we do this, there's one other question.
Yes.
You weren't able to connect before, had trouble. Has anything like this ever happened in the past?
There have been some times, generally, when we are in very close proximity to either very powerful telepaths, or when there have been perhaps rifts within the different planes. This, of course, was before the dragons were dismissed and the anchors put in place. So not for very, very many hundreds of years have we experienced this kind of interference. But I suspect it was localized. I took the opportunity of speaking with some of the other oracles, only to discover that they did not suffer the same blackout that we had. I assume that is because of...
And would you think it is possible that aside from the blackout, there could be other manipulation with the oracles, like listening into conversations?
Although it is theoretically possible for one oracle to spy on the conversations of another, or a telepath to scan the minds of an oracle whilst they are communicating, it is not likely that the oracle would miss such an action. We are incredibly sensitive to those kind of invasions and have taken the training to learn how to avoid them. But it is possible, if there is someone out there who is very skilled in telepathy, that they might very well have the ability to shift things. Though, considering the oracles all know each other personally, it is unlikely that they could impersonate one another. We would detect this.
Alright, so before we try to communicate with the Sandorai,
Yes.
I would like to communicate with the Groch Loch Halem, because we need to warn them first before we try anything else.
All right, I will try. She reaches out her hand. Usually she places her hand on someone's forehead and then she just becomes the conduit. She puts her hand on your forehead and you can feel that she is absolutely ice cold. There is no blood flowing through her to begin with, but now it's as if the hand of death was simply placed upon your forehead. You can feel almost an ice freeze starting to happen as the connection starts to take place. Back to Con, there isn't very much going on, I'm afraid. The ship is making good progress across the deserts. In about half an hour, you'll clear the glass desert, so at least there won't be the risk of, instant death when you fall to the ground. It'll be more slow and lingering. But it's a small comfort, I suppose. The rest of the crew are moving around. You are approached after a short fashion by the engineer. He's come up for a cigarette. Once the ship is going, there's very little for him to do apart from stoke the flames or whatever it is that the gnomish engineers do within the engine. You don't know. It's
weapon.
Secret. And how are you doing today, sir?
Absolutely fantastic. Look at the sky. Big, open, nice, mountainous clouds on the horizon. Bright sun. You can't beat it. We've got a favourable wind. The engines are humming by the feel of things. If it wasn't for this bad business with the saboteurs, it would be brilliant.
Absolutely. I'm very pleased with how the engines are doing, as a matter of fact. She's well within all of the parameters that we like her to keep her in. And when she was under strain, I have to say, she performed fairly adequately. I'm not unhappy with her whatsoever. There is a small wee little thing which I thought I might raise with you, since it's just the two of us now on the deck here. You have a tendency to drop your flapper, sir. The flappers are the colloquial term for the side sails that sit on the side of the ship, which allow you to control basically your pitch and your yaw of the ship.
I bet that's what that means.
Do I?
I noticed that you had a tendency to favour the starboard flapper more than the port side flapper, and as a result the ship has a tendency to list to about 3 degrees off. It might be throwing the gunners out. Either that or, well, we don't want to say the alternative as to why they didn't hit a ship that's almost 400 foot in length, right?
It begs to differ. I believe I saw a direct hit.
Aye, there was one.
At least once.
Aye.
For a great shot too.
Aye, at least once. And only once. It's nothing, sir. I'm probably just being pedantic about the whole thing. Anyway, I just thought I'd mention...
Have a look at the control lines, certainly.
There's an old saying, always keep your flap up.
I'll bear that in mind, Waffen. Thank you.
Very good.
I think gnomes are very specifically wanting everybody to keep their flaps up.
There we go. And with that, Graham, back to you in the infirmary. The boy slowly starts to wake up.
Knock him out.
The boy passes out. Quite a lot. You continue to search for strange markings and tattoos and the like. There is one. It's on his left shoulder. It looks to be some kind of flying horse. Possibly a Pegasus. If it was a Pegasus, perhaps drawn by a 4-year-old who's never seen a Pegasus and understands that a Pegasus involves several sticks and then some feathers. It's a rather low quality, poor tattoo, done in the old style, so it means there's no magic involved in terms of embedding it into the skin. It's just literally ink that's been injected underneath the surface. Possibly a couple months old, no older than that.
Okay. And I've looked every...
There we go.
That's
the tattoo right there. Yeah.
And I've looked every square inch.
Well, yes. One could say you've gone him over from head to toe. And back again.
All right.
Nothing that you can see.
I cut off the string of beads.
Sure.
And I keep that in a pocket for now. I'm going to use it for investigation later. And then I'm going to... I'll run up, unlock the door.
Sure.
and then walk back to him and tend to the small bruise in his head, and then I'll slowly start trying to. Well, I'll be sure to keep the broth warm. I'll just wait for good old Mutaru to come in.
All right.
He's clean for the moment.
You arrive, Mutaru.
Ah, Graham, how's the patient? Oh,
I think
sorry.
he's still sleeping. Looks like he had a really nasty bump on his head.
This is red
he has. Yeah, well, he has been through a lot, poor little thing. Well, nonetheless, I'm sure it's a great comfort that such a kind-hearted man is watching over him, and look, even feeding him food.
Well, as soon as he wakes up, I did take a look at something. Can you detect magical properties?
We already did. I did at the end of last session. I was in the room with him and did detect magic.
Oh,
I would have seen if the arm.
That's right.
Yeah.
You didn't pick up anything from the boy, right?
No, it was just the pouch and the scroll, which he had, right? But other than that, there was no magic on him.
I'll place the beads back under his pillow, like like a tooth fairy.
All right.
Graham,
Yes,
what was that?
beads.
Is it like prayer beads or something?
I don't know, God. Is it prayer beads?
Like you
That's
said,
the question.
they were just
That's a
a
good
collection of beads on a thong. You didn't seem any specific religious context.
At this point, Mutaru sort of squints at him, walks over to the bowl of broth, has a spoonful, and then puts it back and leaves.
Do you
It's
blame the
pretty good,
chef?
pretty good broth.
Make a Constitution saving throw.
And then Mutaru will go and check on Blackston. So I'll head in that direction. next.
Speaking of Blackston, Demesta closes her eyes. They roll back in the sockets of her head, and she is suddenly now an individual looking back directly at you. This is Selkus of the. How am I?
Now you need to pronounce it.
Yes, this is Selkus of the Georgia Lochalan. To whom am I speaking?
Blackston Rose.
Of the Windswift. What can I do
Indeed.
for you?
Maybe you know it, but we had maneuvers and something went terribly wrong. We were attacked. The other ship we were maneuvering with got destroyed completely out of nowhere, and I kind of explain what happened, and I kind of explain the contents of the note we found, and I basically warn them and say, be very careful in whatever you want to do at that place at that time. If you need to do it anyways, be prepared and perhaps try to set an ambush for when these creatures.
I will relay this
appear.
information to the captains. This is very alarming. You say the Sandorai was on that list?
Yes.
Has your oracle...
Did you have like kind of interchange the information that kind of this feeling of frost and coldness and stuff?
I'm receiving it myself, even though we are several thousand miles away from where the Sandorai is reporting its location.
My
fairly
train of
close.
thought was maybe that they were not destroyed altogether, but perhaps transported somewhere else, which would be unsinkable, but explains the situation.
Far be it for me to suggest anything that your oracle has not already perhaps ventured, but in order for their oracle to be broadcasting her current emotional state, it would mean that she is somehow locked or frozen in a mental state. Normally one would not be continuously transmitting one's emotional feelings. There is something strange going on. Are you aware of the Gam Spire?
Am I?
The Gamspire, everybody has a general knowledge of. It's the tallest and highest mountain in the entire planet of Braxia.
Of course I heard of it.
Located within the Great Kush Range. The Kush Mountain Range, which is, from your current location, a mere 400 miles to the south.
What about the mountain?
That is the last location that we got from Aslan, who is the oracle aboard the Sandorii.
All right, and you think it is much wiser to try to see locally what happened than trying to reach her?
I have tried several times since she started broadcasting. All we get back is her emotional state.
All right. Thank you for the information. We will try to find out more on our front and warn your captains and to do the plan.
Have you informed your deacon of this information?
Preliminary, yes. Not the latest information that got uncovered.
I see. We will take the necessary precautions to protect our ship, of course. And we thank you for any warnings. We will relay this information to our deacon as per standing orders, but unless you feel there is a need otherwise, you seem skeptical.
Well, one of the other captains thought there might be somewhat of a spy because of the information that were gathered about time and location. It might be a spy in the organization itself, or maybe some sort of listening in to our communication. That is why we wanted to inform you directly, so to cut out as much as possible.
It certainly does.
Many as possible unknowns.
Seem possible, if unlikely. Very well. We shall hold off on this information for 24 hours, until such time as we have determined an outcome, or you have given us additional information.
So they were due within 24 hours?
No, their time frame is about 5 days from now. But that's the time frame she's given you.
It's their decision. I kind of voiced our opinion, so. Right. Well, I wish you Godspeed.
And to your ship as well. The link is broken, and Nesta comes back into the room.
I say to her, you are cold. You don't only feel it. Is that normal?
No, it is not normal. Did the other oracle say anything about this broadcast of Aslan?
Yeah, she kind of. I tell her that the Sandorai was in the Gemspire, and she felt that it's the same, but didn't manage. She tried herself to get the connection there, but didn't herself manage to. So I think it's. Well, we don't need to try something that was already tried before. I tell her, and if anything should change in the feeling of this broadcast or anything else, keep us informed immediately, please. And I also tell her that what the other oracle thought of the situation, right? That it's like a in time frozen emotional state perpetually.
She's busy shivering. She nods her head. Suddenly her eyes flick back again in their sockets, and this voice calls out to you, so cold, so cold. The Sandorai, we were attacked. They're on board. They know we can see the top of the spire. Caglor has headed there in the hopes of perhaps seeing a way out of the valley. If anyone can hear this, Oh, no, I wasn't talking. And Demnesta falls to the ground.
Cool. All right, so as she falls, she still has her hand. Like I grab her while she falls.
Sure. She just continues to shake and shiver, obviously a remnant of her old body, trying to warm herself up.
Fires usually are not such a hot thing on ships, so to speak. So, is there anything?
There are yes, there are coal hearths where you can build a fire, and it's protected on all sides, so the wood isn't likely to burn.
Is there something like that in her quarters as well?
Yes.
So I would put her into a coffin.
Sure.
And and kind of start to tinker with the hearth.
All right, absolutely, to get the flames going and to warm things up. Mutari, you arrive at the same time now to find Blackston busy building a fire and a very, very unconscious Domesta lying in her coffin in repose.
Man, we're all doing suspicious things, aren't we?
And Mutara's walking in on each and every single one of them.
Yep.
Hey, it wasn't me! This is not how it looks!
I'm almost scared to go and see what Khan's up to. Because he's at the helm of the ship.
He's trying to keep his flaps up. That's what he's doing.
Okay, so I trust you. Okay, no, not that I don't trust Graham, but I trust you to at least to not be pocketing little boy stuff.
What?
Why do you mention this? I'm confused.
Mutaru looks at him and says, "Are you alright?"
Yes, quiet.
Is
and
she alright?
I don't know, but something happened to the Sandorai, and I kind of explained the situation to him.
Alright, well, geez. I suppose what we should do is we should go straight away to, see if we can offer aid. I'll tell Khan.
Yes.
I'll get one of the...
All right.
Khan! Do you read me? Khan!
Yes. What?
This is literally the communication for everything. He has to always yell out their name. Hello. Yes.
Is this blocked?
No, I'm here. New instructions. New instructions. We're going to be making a course for what was the Gemspire, whatever you want. Gemspire.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yes.
If you're sure.
I will come and give you a full update, but for the time being, can you please set a course?
Yes, all right. I shall do that right away.
All right.
And I tell Blackston to keep trying to help Demeter, and I will go update Khan on what you've told me.
Naxon, am I dropping my flappers at all, Ensign?
My flappers, all right.
Your flappers look fine, sir.
Oh, good. Good. Jolly good. Right.
Maybe the starboard is a little bit lower than the port side, sir, but well within regulations. Well within regulations.
How's that? Is that better?
Yes, there's a gentle rocking as the ship starts to move around. And with that, we will come back next week when we continue the investigations into the strange occurrence of the telepaths and why they can't communicate.
I can always tell a man by how well he handles his flappers.
Here we go. So thank you for watching. If you don't stay with us for the post-game discussion, we'll see you next week. If you do stay with us, well, let's go straight into that post-game discussion. And, well, that's Mutaru up first. Mutaru.
What are you guys doing to me? All I want to do, right? I mean, I just want to give.
Should I have put a sock on the outside of the door or something?
I feel like we need a code. Okay, so Mutaru is a simple creature with simple needs and simple wants in life, right? We finished the meeting. He thought we made some progress. We had a direction. Okay, I'll go look at the child, and then there was this weird impromptu discussion with the chef, and then and then obviously walking in on Graham, and you know not being quite sure what happened, but him say because I didn't actually ask about the wound on his head. I'm going to point that out.
Yes.
Just suddenly, he seems slightly injured.
Oh no, because I was tending to it. And I'm like, wow. That's a sizable bump on his head.
It's still growing because of the reasons.
Right, so I'm just like, no, stay.
You know, I felt like the super naive nanny just catching everyone. Like, is like, stay out of my room, Mutaru.
Mom.
Not my mom, okay?
But lots of fun, lots of really cool and very interesting stuff gathered in, and always it's really good when you have like a couple of like not only just the information gathering stuff as well, but also there's cool little I suppose asides where you can have a little bit of fun and you know keep the energy up. So yeah, I quite enjoyed today.
Good. Blackston?
Whew, yeah, a lot of information, a lot of disposition. For my character itself, again, fairly straightforward, usually wants to stick to the rules in place, so that's why he felt a little bit uncomfortable not to telling the deacon and so on. But and didn't like insist of them not telling because okay, now it's there, like it's not my decision anymore, right? Like that's an easy way out not to kind of go over what Graham wants to decide. So that's why I didn't insist on that part more, because he himself respects his opinion, but not like wouldn't be the same himself. Other than that, super interesting what's going on in the Gemspire, wherever that is or wherever they are. So let's see what we'll find there.
Absolutely. And Graham, the searcher of young men.
Every inch, boys, every inch.
Look, he's a very suspicious person. Like, look, I'm not gonna trust a boy that falls from the sky of a destroyed ship who just happens to have a magical bag with information from the enemy. I'm not going to trust that, not for an instant. So yes, Scream is going to check every single inch. Doesn't care what he sees. He doesn't. He's a very meticulous person.
Stop.
So you're under the impression that this small boy decided to ingest copious amounts of mercury, as a bit of a lark to lull us into a false sense of security?
No, I was actually looking for any deceptions that might have been placed upon him.
Illusion or something like this? Yeah.
Anything that could have been used, like, hell, like, what if there was, like, a really small blue spiral tattoo on his butt or something, because no one was going to look?
Like a dragon on the back of his shoulder blade or something?
I knew it! It says Aragon. That was a terrible movie.
Yeah,
of course it's evil.
Big Yakuza tattoo.
Yeah.
No, I absolutely loved, like, just because I know how curious and simple of a creature that Mutaru is. So that's why it was great when you're like, the chef's there. I'm like, great, get out. go talk to him or something. I'm busy doing Grimm stuff.
Yeah.
Just mention his name. Mutaru will do the rest for me, right?
Oh,
because that was good. And on a slight note for that, it's always a really good point when players can kind of pick up on like that sort of, without so much as saying communication stuff, but pick up like that. You obviously wanted a bit of time, and rather than sort of turning around and saying, no, I'm going to do that. One of the good things about good improv is accepting what people do and sort of rolling with it to, help you guys.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
right. Like,
I mean, locking the door is kind of like the the home run of like, leave me alone.
Because it is suspicious and weird looking, like what I'm doing. But I also am always gonna like just role play like what I don't know. So like I don't know anything about what Black's doing or Khan or what Mutaru's talking about. I'm just sticking with what I'm doing and what I know.
Yeah,
right.
No, and that paranoia may be healthy one day. We'll see it coming through. And Con, the man who had the least to do, but ended up discovering that he has loose flaps.
The indignity of it, honestly.
Told from a gnome.
Well, yes, Con would appear to have had a fairly sedate session. He wasn't ruminating in many ways, having sort of voiced his doubt at keeping things under wraps. He's definitely the sort who prefers to report significant details. Information as widely spread as possible type of a person, so he has to adapt to the ideas of intriguing a bit. But instead of throwing a fit or getting into an argument, he'll see how it plays out, and he'll go fly the ship for a bit, have a smoke, and learn about his flaps.
So that's something that as per your suggestions, to just unpack from my side what was going on, is obviously the adventure's on its way and it's moving forward. But when you have these kind of discussion things happening where your players are going off to try and discover different stuff and the party is literally split in 4 different directions, and it is just exposition, and it's exposition that you kind of have to go through. So if the child had woken up, there was a conversation that was going to happen. If it didn't wake up, there's stuff that needs to be found. But one
Start a conversation.
Really interesting.
Shut up. We touched you.
The rest of the crew hear screams from the medical bay.
So when that sort of stuff happens, and I become very, very aware that there are players who just don't have stuff to do because there is just not there. There's nothing there for them to do. So like with Mutaro and with Con, it's like, well, these guys are not involved in some kind of conversation. They're not involved in an investigation. They're literally doing what needs to be done. So it's like when PCs are doing practical stuff, right? That's then when I try and bring in the NPCs to then start trying to build up some kind of NPC rapport and that kind of thing. And with the cook, it was easy because, Freddie, you sent him off there with specific missions, so that was easy to go with. But with Con, it was like, what the hell do I do with you? You're standing on the top of the ship and you're just sailing. And there's nothing out here to cause anything to remotely require anything, right? There's no check, there's nothing. It's plain sailing. The only thing you could hit is a cloud, right?
There was a slight angle of player fumble there. I had intended to sort of roleplay a reason to go downstairs, but I got so lost in everything that the time flew, and then you were like, and that's the end of the episode. Like,
It really did fly.
Yeah, Michael, yeah.
I'd like to point out that there are cows in the clouds.
Yes.
We found that out. We found
the
that
hard way.
The hard way. So it could simply be a matter of, ooh, shit.
This ship is unsuitable.
just some turbulence.
Just some turbulence. There you are.
When you were talking about flappers, I really did think like the first thing is like just Khan in his pajamas and his back flap down, just proudly sailing into the sky.
And I was also picturing this gnome who is about like yay high, standing behind him and like, your flappers are down, sir.
He'd be like, "What do you see, Johnson?"
Several images play across Con's mind.
Anyway.
He selects not to choose the one which results in the gnome arcing over the side of the ship.
How's the sky tonight? I see a full moon, sir.
Yes. Anyway, all right, there we go. So there's some unpacking of what just went on in, behind the scenes. So thank you for watching. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button if you want to see more of this kind of stuff. And remember to join us next week for more adventures of the Windswift. Until then, goodbye. And
Flappers, eh?